Hello students, today's agenda is to check homework. We'll be setting up quadratic equations and you will be able to do 4.2. Today students will be able to set up and solve quadratic equations from word problems. So in here it says set up and solve. Number 1 says a table's length is 2 feet longer than its width. What are the measurements if the area is 24 square feet? So first we can create our table, and it says that the length is 2 feet longer than the width. So what we're comparing it to is the width. That means that the length is whatever the width is and 2 feet more. So to set it up, we know that the area is always base times height. So area is equals to base times height, and the area is 24 square feet. So the base is x plus 2 times the height, which is x. We do distributive property, so 24 is equals to x times x is x squared, x times 2 is 2x. We subtract 24 from both sides. This cancels, and so 0 is equals to x squared plus 2x minus 24. To solve for x, you could either use the quadratic equation, or you can find two factors that multiply equals negative 24, but when you add them equals positive 2. And so two factors of negative 24, it's 6 times 4. Because this is positive, we leave the positive to the biggest number and leave the negative to make it negative when we multiply. So positive 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. But when you subtract those, and we subtract because we have different signs, so now it's positive. So the factors in here will be x plus 6 times x minus 4. But that's not it. We still need to find the value of x. X will always be the opposite of the second term divided by the coefficient of the first term if there is a coefficient. If not, it's just the opposite. So since in here is positive 6, the opposite is negative 6. In here is negative 4, the opposite will be positive 4. For distance of a table, we cannot have a negative number. So that means that x is 4. So our width will be 4, and the length is 4 plus 2, which is 6. Notice how in this case it's just the positive of that. Usually that's what happens when we have those dimensions. We can say the width is 4 feet and the length is 6 feet. Number 2 says you have a square cake and need to fit it into a container, so you cut 5 inches off from its length and width. The new area is 64 square inches. How much were the original sides? So I don't think I'm going to have enough space in here. So let's draw our cake in here. It's a square, but then it says that you cut off 5 inches. So it's minus 5 and also minus 5 in here. So from the original, which represents the original side, and it's x minus 5 that you cut off, and x minus 5 that you cut off from here. So it will be x minus 5. Since it's a square, we can just square that. And it says that now the area after you cut off the 5 inches will be 64 square inches. Because of the structure of this quadratic equation, it's easier to just cancel. If we are squaring, the opposite of squaring is the square root. But if you do it on one side, you have to do it on the other side. Now you'll get x minus 5 equals the positive and negative of the square root of 64 is 8. Finally, if you're subtracting, you cancel by adding, because that cancels this. And so x is equals to, first you put together the positive 5 and the positive 8, which is, well, you add them and you get 13. Or you put or, and then in here you're going you're going to get positive 5 and now the negative 8. So positive 5 and negative 8, you subtract and leave the greater sign, so it's going to be negative 3. Again, because this is cake, we cannot say, oh, it measures negative 3 inches, so you just cancel that. And so the original sides were 13 inches long. The original sides were 13 inches long. Now you don't have to do this part, but if you think about it, 13 minus 5 is 8, and 13 minus 5 is 8, and so 8 times 8 is the 64 square inches that we have left after we cut off the 5 by 5. For number 3, it says you have a square. The area is 121 square feet. How much are the sides? So basically, all it's saying is that you have a square and you're just looking for the sides. So in here, for the area, it will be x times x because it's base times height. So that will be x squared equals, the area is 121 square feet. To cancel this, all you have to do is take the square root of both sides. This cancels, and x is equals to positive and negative. The square root of 121 is 11. Again, because the distance of something cannot be negative, we can just cancel that, and so we can say the sides measure 11 feet. Number 4 says you have a plot of land. The length is 2 kilometers shorter than its width. The area is 15 square kilometers. How much are the sides? So now in here, what it's saying is, again, we're comparing it to the width, but it's 2 kilometers shorter than that width. That's why it should be smaller on this dimension. So it's x minus 2 because it's shorter than the width. The area is 15 square kilometers. Okay, so again, for area of any rectangle is going to be base times height. The area is 15 square kilometers. The base is x minus 2. The height is x. And so x times x is x squared. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. And that's equals to the 15 square kilometers. We subtract 15 from both sides because we want to have it as 0, equals to 0. So that's x squared minus 2x minus 15. In here again, we can check to see if we have two factors that when subtracted equals negative 15. And so 3 times 5 is 15 when we need to have one of them negative. This tells me that the biggest of the two has to be negative. And so negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. However, when we subtract them, 3 minus 5 is negative 2. So yes, we found them. X plus 3, x minus 5. But again, remember that that's not the solution. We still need to find the opposite, because when we have a product times another product, in order for this to be 0, and when we multiply, one of them has to be 0. How do we make this factor a 0? So the opposite of positive 3 is negative 3. That way negative 3 and positive 3 becomes 0. So that's why x has to be negative 3. Or for this factor to be 0, this needs to be 5, because positive 5 and negative 5 is 0. Okay, again, we cannot have a negative distance, so that would not work. X is 5, And then in here we substitute 5 minus 2 is 3. So we can say that the width is 5. Kilometers, and the length is 3 kilometers. It says a rectangle has an area of 4 square centimeters. The length is 2 centimeters longer than the width. Approximately how long are the sides? Again, we draw our rectangle, and so it says that the length is 2 centimeters longer than the width. Okay, and the area is 4 square centimeters. So area is equals to base times height. The area is 4 square centimeters. The base is x plus 2, and the height is x. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. We bring down the 4. Now we cancel by subtracting. This cancels, and 0 is equals to x squared plus 2x minus 4. Now in here, I have to find two numbers that multiply equals negative 4, but when you add them equals positive 2. Well, in here, we're going to subtract, so the only factors for 4 is 2 times 2, which is 4, and one of them has to be negative, so that when we subtract them, that will be 0. That doesn't work. The other pair is 1 times 4. Since this is positive, that means that this is positive and this will be negative. And when we subtract this, we would have a 3x. That means that we cannot use factoring. We have to go to the quadratic equation. Okay, so let me move it a little bit to the side. So the quadratic equation is x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And so x is equal to negative. Now, before we do that, let's label what is a. A is all the coefficient of x squared. If there is no coefficient, that means that a is 1. B is always the coefficient of x. That means that in this case is 2. And C will never have a variable, so C is negative 4. So now we're going to substitute A, B, and C into each one of these. If you need to see more practice of this is a lesson from a previous whole year before. And so if you need, I will put the link to the video with more explanation on the quadratic equation in the description below, so you can watch more examples. Okay, so negative b is 2, plus minus the square root of b squared is 2 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 4. All divided by 2 times the value of a, which is 1. Okay, so now the parts that we can simplify at the same time are this, and this third one. The rest we just bring down, so negative 2 plus minus 2 squared is 4. And then in here we have to be very careful. We multiply the first two factors and then multiply with the third one. Okay, so negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. And that result times negative 4, so negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16, divided by, and we can simplify this part, 2 times 1 is 2. Bring down this section, and now we are going to simplify this part inside of the square root. So negative 2 plus minus the square root of, we add 4 plus 16 is 20, divided by 2. So in here we can simplify if they ask for the answer in terms of square root. However, in here they're asking for an approximate. That means that we're going to take the square root of 20. And in some calculators, first you press the square root. Sometimes in other calculators, first you put the 20 and then the square root. So be careful with that. Press equal, and we're going to round it to the hundredths. So x is equals to -2 plus minus 4.47. 4.47 divided by 2. And so in here, I'm going to have -2 plus 4.47. First, we subtract. That's 2.47. And then, because the positive is bigger, that's the sign that we're going to leave. So positive 2.47 divided by 2. Or now we go with the negative part of it. We already did the positive. Now we're doing the negative. Since both are negative, we add and keep the greater sign, which is negative. And 4 plus 2 is 6.47 divided by 2. We still need to divide by 2, and I don't have enough space, so I'm going to put it down here. So x is equals to 2.47 divided by 2 gives us 1.235 thousandths. In here, negative divided by positive is going to be negative. And 6.47 divided by 2 is 3.235 thousandths. Again, we cannot have a negative answer for distances, so that means that x will be 1 point, and again, if we can round to the hundreds, that will be better. So 1.24. And in here, it's 1.24 plus 2, which is 3.24. So the approximate, and it's approximate because we're rounding, okay? So we can put the width is about 1.24 centimeters. And the length is about 3.24 centimeters long. Now let's check what our area will be. If we multiply 3.24 times 1.24, it's 4.0176, and that's because we're rounding up, right? So with this, we end our lesson. If you can please give us a thumbs up, subscribe around here. This is the link to the entire unit. Here you will find the next video for this unit. Thank you so much for all of those who have subscribed and supported our channel. Now you're able to do 4.2 and have fun.